Hello friends! Welcome to day 3 of me trying to post every single day in October. I'm honestly shocked I'm still going. Today I'm going to talk about what I watched in September. I have my little list here. I got a couple notes going on. And I am so excited to talk about these movies. This month I decided I wanted to start writing like little articles about the movies I watched. So I'll show you guys those at the end. I really like them. I think they're really fun. This semester I got to do the Strong Leads Film Seminar again, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm gonna do a whole different video on that, but obviously I'm still gonna talk about the movies here. But the first movie I watched for that and the first movie I watched this entire month was Be Natural. It's a documentary about Elise Guy. I thought her name was Alice Guy, but she's French, so that's my bad. She was one of the first movie directors ever, but she was the first female director, which was crazy for me to find out because I had never heard of her before, and I'm a woman who wants to be a filmmaker. I'm so passionate about gender equality, both on screen and behind the screen. You know, the people who make the movies. It was just so wild to watch this and see how much work she did, and just to have no idea who she was. That was shocking. A lot of her films, unfortunately, are considered lost media now. There were some clips from some of her movies in this documentary, but not too many because, I mean, none of them really exist anymore, which is so sad. The second movie I watched was also the second movie we watched in Strong Leads, and it was Love and Basketball. I'm not a big sports person. Even in movies, I'm just not into it, so I wasn't expecting to like this. But I did. I was so invested the whole time. Basically, this movie is about two basketball players who have been neighbors since they were really little, and they grew up as friends, and they grew up playing basketball, and then when they're, I think at the end of high school, they end up falling in love and getting together, and then they stay together in college, and they break up in college. And really, what kind of drove them apart was that love of basketball. They both didn't have time for the other person because they were so focused on their sport. This was really cheesy, and it ended in a really cheesy way, and I ate it up. I loved it. It was so good. Next movie I watched was Hot Fuzz. Guys, oh my gosh. Edgar Wright has to be my favorite director of all time. He's so talented and I love his comedy style. It's so specific to him. I love it. One of my friends had a couple people over at his house and that's when we watched it. And the plan for that night was to have a movie night. The plan for that night was to watch a movie and we sat in his house and talked for 2 hours and we were like, we should probably watch a movie now. And I'm so glad we picked this one, guys. Edgar Wright he's my favorite. I love him so much. And then afterwards we watched Smosh Try Not to Laugh videos, which was incredible because I love Smosh. Back to Hot Fuzz though. This movie is about a cop in a big city who basically gets fired a little bit. But he gets transferred to a really small town where there's seemingly no crime, but of course he finds a million people to arrest the first day. But there really isn't no crime. There's a lot of deaths happening, but they're like, oh, what a tragic accident. And none of them are accidents. It was so gory, and it was so gross, and I loved it. It was so good. And of course, it was absolutely hilarious. Next movie I watched was Spider-Man. I've seen all the Spider-Man movies before, but one of my friends is making a Spider-Man short film, so I wanted to rewatch them before I go and see that, just so I understand all the references. I don't know. I think I just wanted an excuse to watch Spider-Man again. So I watched the very first one with Tobey Maguire, and oh my gosh, I love him. I think Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man, but Tobey Maguire is definitely my favorite Peter Parker. Next movie was the third movie we watched in Strong Leads, and that was Portrait of a Lady on Fire. The fact that I had never seen this before was crazy. It's been on my list for years and years and years, and I just never got around to watching it. It's set in 18th century France, and if you know anything about me, it's that I love period pieces. Historical dramas, all of it. Ugh, I love it. And it's about this woman named Eloise, whose mom commissions this girl named Marianne to paint a portrait of Eloise so she can get married to somebody else. It's okay. It's not as confusing as I'm making it seem. I think it's just hard for me to I need to visualize it. I don't know. Eloise just refused to get her portrait painted because she didn't want to be married just to some guy she doesn't know. But her mom was like, you have to. That's how it works. It's 18th century France. So her mom hired Marianne to secretly paint a portrait of Eloise. So while the two are spending time together, they fall in love. And it is, oh my gosh. It's such an intimate movie. Everything is just so close. The sounds and the visuals and oh my gosh, the color grading in it. I can't. It was so beautiful. I'm absolutely obsessed. It was so good. After that, I watched Spider-Man 2. I think the switch from Spider-Man to Portrait of a Lady on Fire to Spider-Man 2 is really funny. After this, my family watched Love at First Sight, and I wanted to love this. I wanted to be obsessed with this. I wanted to like watch it and be like, this is so cute. My mother can attest to me screaming at the TV the whole time and being like, I hate this. I don't like this. It's a rom-com about two people who meet on a flight on the way to London, and then they like part ways after they get off the flight. And it was like the guy typed his number into the girl's phone and then the girl's phone died, so she doesn't have it saved. And she's like, but that was my soulmate. And she basically runs all over London to try to find him. And I think at its core, it was really sweet. There were some moments where I was like, okay, whatever, that was cute. But I didn't love it. I will admit, I do love in rom-coms when there's just like total cliches. Some of them were just like, ew. It just wasn't, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. After that, my family and I watched Spooky Buddies. I always love going back and watching movies that I watched growing up, but especially around like Halloween and Christmas. It just makes it so much better. And honestly, this was like kind of a little horrifying. I wasn't allowed to watch it for a long time growing up, and then I finally did when I was younger. And I felt like so cool. I was like, oh, I'm watching a horror movie. And I'm looking back and I'm like, I probably had nightmares. The like giant ghost guard dog, that thing freaks me out still. After that was the fourth movie I watched in Strong Leads, and it was Caramel. Caramel? Caramel? I think I've been saying it 2 different ways since I watched it. Like, I'll talk to people about it and I'll definitely say it 2 different ways. So if I switch it up, don't come at me. Leave me alone. This movie was about a group of girls in Lebanon who owned like a beauty parlor, salon. I don't know what the official word is. I feel like a lot of times in Strong Leads, we deal with really heavy topics, and every movie has like this big climax where everybody's like, oh my gosh, and it's like life-changing. And this movie didn't have that, and I loved that, honestly. The movie was just like random little bits of their life every day. Like one of the girls was trying to make it as an actress and as a model, but she felt like she was becoming too old to do that, so she was doing things to try to make herself seem younger. And this other girl was absolutely in love with this man who was cheating on his wife with her. And one girl was about to get married and she was preparing stuff for her wedding. And this other girl just worked at the salon, and this one girl comes in and she just falls in love. And then there's this whole other side plot with this woman who's a tailor and her sister that she takes care of. I just thought it was so beautiful. Like it was just life. It was just life documented. And that was awesome. This is another one of those like, oh, I watched a funny movie. This was amazing. I watched another funny movie. I watched Haunted Mansion. I didn't watch the full thing, but I watched, I think, a majority of it with my family. And when I went to log it on Letterboxd, everybody was like dogging on it. Everybody hated it. I thought it was genuinely really funny. I think the cast was incredible. It was stacked. It was a crazy cast. But I thought just the line delivery and everything was so funny. Like I genuinely enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. Then I watched Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue. Growing up, I was obsessed with fairies, like to an unhealthy amount. They were my entire life, so of course Tinkerbell was also going to be my entire life. There was a very long time where I could not fall asleep unless I was listening to one song off of the original Tinkerbell soundtrack. It's just such a core memory of like falling asleep to that song. It's one I remember I had like a routine to in dance class, and I think it was by Selena Gomez, but I could not remember the name. It was this song. Whatever that is. But The Great Fairy Rescue is about a girl named Lizzie who kind of accidentally captures Tinkerbell, and they become best friends because her dad pays no attention to her. I didn't realize how much of a problem that was until I rewatched it. I was like, I'm gonna call CPS. Like, your dad does not care about you at all. I feel like I keep sinking down in frame. But Tinkerbell and Lizzie become like best friends, but obviously Tinkerbell needs to escape and go back to Pixie Hollow. Guys, hearing myself say these words as a 17-year-old compared to a 7-year-old is kind of really funny. Then we watched Moana. I watched a lot of like family movies this month. I was writing an essay while I was watching this, which is like a weird theme I realized. Whenever I watch Moana, I'm always doing something else. Last time I watched it, I was at a friend's house and I was editing pictures for my job. And then I watched a bunch of short films slash mini episodes. First of all, I watched Bosses. I love short films or like little skits that Rachel Sennett makes. Why am I so far down? They're always so obscure. And I mean, they all just feel like a fever dream. And I love that. I love that for her. I love that for me. I get really into Jackie I can't pronounce their last name. And of course by that I mean I watched like 2 of their short films. But the short films I watched were called Mismatched and Bang Bang. They're both animated in a style that I really loved. Mismatched was just real. It was just relatable. It was somebody who got a text that was like, hey, do you want to hang out? So they spent like the entire time picking out an outfit, and then at the end the person was like, actually just kidding, I can't make it. So they're like, oh, okay. And the second one, I mean, was just modern day Thelma and Louise. I loved it. It was so great. I'm not gonna talk about all the ones that I watched because I watched a butt ton. So here are some quick little reviews of some that I watched that I'm not gonna talk about. I love Adventure Time so much. I watched all 5 of the Frog Seasons mini episodes. There's spring, summer, autumn, winter, and spring again. I loved the water nymph in, I want to say it was summer, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
You know the old saying, you can lead a frog to crown, but you can't, don't look him in the mouth.
I loved her. She was so funny. Lastly, I watched Bounty. This was also animated in an art style that I just absolutely loved. It was so precious. It was really short, but so much went on in that short amount of time, and it was really precious. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but you guys need to watch it just for the end, because the end was so, oh my gosh, it was so good. That's all that I watched in September. Here are some of the articles that I wrote. It's not really an article, I guess. It's just the movie poster and like a picture from the movie. I put my review, I put other people's reviews that I really liked, I put the synopsis. But they've been really fun to make. And then I'll make like collages of the movie. It's been so much fun finding those pictures. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time watching this video. I had a very fun time making it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.